So now we get to the final bosses of the game. A Dreamcast can actually be seen after you beat the Naked Dragoon. When Eggman's trying to order Dark Gaia around in this cutscene, you can actually see a Dreamcast and a controller for it, a game case to the right of him, with his Rush 2D art as the cover. So, Eggman plays the Dreamcasts, I guess? Well, I guess he's a genius, so it makes sense that he'd be portrayed as a nerd by... See? There's the Dreamcast! Right there, to the left of him. That's something that I wouldn't really notice, because I never had a Dreamcast. Why did you think? Of course that happened. Like, seriously, it's not like he was talking about putting a brainwashing chip on him. And speaking of chip, of course he tries to ruin the action scene by making silly facial expressions when he's grabbed and stuff. And a Scrappy-Doo pose again. How is he intimidating at all? Thankfully, for the most part, this scene does a good job of actually having a lot of suspense to it. I mean, like, this is actually genuinely intimidating and scary. Dark Gaia is stealing the Dark Gaia energy out of the Werehog.
Sonic, you gotta get up! Sonic!
And I like how Chip genuinely looks like he feels sorry for... Like, Chip does genuinely have compassion in him, it's just that I hate him so much. I feel sorry for Sonic here, like he looks so genuinely exhausted.
7 lights of the earth rekindled.
So here's what Chip does. He actually uses the Gaia temples and combines them all together
What's happening?
into a giant mecha.
Wow, that's just incredible.
And this mecha is actually nicknamed the Gaia Temple Megazord by fans, which is ridiculous. What is Megazord anyways? Is it a Transformers reference? I've never noticed, never watched Transformers. But yeah, I guess this is the only way that such a stupid and goofy looking character could possibly look badass. But the problem is, he still has that stupid, lame voice, even after he transforms into this more powerful form. It just raises the question of, okay, does he do this every single time he needs to reseal away Dark Gaia? Because they keep saying that he has to do this all the time. But the only reason he was able to do this was because Sonic was willing to help him reform the planet. So how did Chip manage to seal away Dark Gaia so many times before when Sonic wasn't even there? Why does Chip have to have this physical form that he creates himself out of the Gaia temples while Dark Gaia has this form of his own? And now we get to this part. This is basically Punch-Out in a Sonic game. Who thought this was a good idea? Here's what you have to do. When the left arm glows, you have to press left. You have to go left when the left arm is going to attack you, and right when the right arm is going to attack you. But it just doesn't feel intuitive at all, because he slashes diagonally. So you expect him to attack you on the... Like, his left arm swings, so you expect that you have to press... So you expect that you have to go to the right to dodge the left arm. That's not how it is. It's so easy to die multiple times. Why is it that he constantly summons this force field that blocks your attacks? And it's impossible to predict how many times he's going to attack. He leaves himself wide open while he's attacking, so you don't necessarily have to wait and just dodge. But it's kind of risky to try to attack him while he's attacking, mainly because they're so slow. This boss takes a lot of getting used to. I'm sure it's better than the HD version. In fact, I completely forget what the HD version is like. Aside from the fact that in the HD version, you have to constantly switch between this and the section that comes up afterwards, which is really stupid. It's much neater and cleaner the way they do in the Wii version. In fact, the Wii version in general has a much superior boss fight final boss fight. Like, the HD version of the Dark Gaia fight is legendary in how awful it is. The camera is so far panned out, it's kind of hard to tell what you're supposed to do, or where you're supposed to go. You have to circle around the purple things to defeat them, and your controls are really slippery, though your controls are slippery and delayed in the Wii version too. I never actually played it, but I've heard it's one of the worst boss fights in all Sonic history. I figure now it's a good time to mention that you can't actually skip any of the cutscenes in this game.
Roger that, buddy.
Here's the thing. I lost all my lives to the Supersonic section because I wasn't sure what to do.
Time for the big finale.
So I had to rewatch all of the cutscenes leading up to it because for some reason Sonic Unleashed doesn't let you skip cutscenes at all. And this is why the story being terrible is such a huge problem. With every other story, you can just skip it, and it's fine. But for all the cutscenes leading up to Supersonic and coming after it, well, not coming after because that showed off, but God, this is so weird because I fell because this was the first time in the entire game that I've been expected to do a rail switch. And I was really confused because the R button showed up like it was a QuickTime event. And I was like, what? I'm supposed to do a QuickTime event on a rail? And it just destroyed my reaction time because I was so caught off guard. If you can call this a Sonic level, this is the most awkward and clunky and cheap Sonic level in the game. Look at this! You can't predict that! It just randomly decides to send purple explosions on the ground and you have no choice but to run into them. And I didn't expect that. Of course I fell. And I fell right into that thing. And of course, because this 2D sections are so awkward in their controls and speed, you can easily homing attack to the left while trying to go right. Why are there so many lasers everywhere and random explosions that just show up like it's flame core and there's falling boulders everywhere? It's sad when the QuickTime event is the most fun part of a Sonic level. And I have to do another one. At least these parts are fun and satisfying. I love the rainbow rings and boosting off ramps. But then you get parts like this where you have this long stretch of land and boost gameplay, and you're expected to constantly jump. That's against your Sonic instincts. The entire game up to this point has trained you that if it's a long stretch of land, you should boost. But instead, you're expected to jump for lunch. And again, I can't stress enough how cheap it is that random projectiles can just show up in front of you and you run into them because you had no way of knowing they'd show up. And I didn't expect that I would have to homing attack there, so naturally I fell to my death. Although it's even worse in the HD version. In the HD version, when you get launched off the ramp at the very beginning of the Sonic section, you can actually get hit by a flying projectile in mid-air and die before the level even starts. Not to mention the HD version is really annoying because you always have Chip saying, Sonic, Dark Gaia is getting ready to do something. And you have this really strict time limit as well. So the Wii version, this part is really terrible, but at least it's done better in the Wii version. Yet another reason that the Wii version is better. Even the most awful parts are generally improved. They just arbitrarily decided to make the HD version more frustrating. Something that confused me is that, like, Sonic had all the Chaos Emeralds when the Werehog was taken away from him, didn't he? Like, why didn't he just use the Chaos Emeralds to go super right away? Like, he must have them with him. So why didn't he go super a long time ago? And again, I wanted to skip this so badly because I was being forced to watch this long, boring cutscene a second time. But you can't skip it. I don't care about any of these villagers that look hideous and awful. I don't care about any of these people. Why am I being shown their reactions all over the world to the sky being made prettier?
It was broad daylight a minute ago.
God, I don't care about any of this. This is just wasting my time.
The beast is complete.
We really
Just
need
as
to be
the Gaia
told
manuscripts
this?
foretold, and the world shall be plunged into the dark of night, the dark of destruction. Oh, that it should come
You
to
know,
this.
it reminds me of how there was a cutscene in Sonic Adventure 2 where the president and the secretary, where the president was all like, "Oh no, what if Sonic can't save us from the Ark?" And the president, and you have this huge speech towards the president where Amy and Rouge and the secretary all tell the president that Sonic will save the day and to never give up on your dreams. And they cut that cutscene for a reason because it gave too much focus to a minor human character that no one cared about. So they cut out that cutscene because it would have dragged out the plot. But they didn't do that here. And this doesn't look overly gross and gruesome, disgusting at all. I can understand why this game got an E10+ rating. So, only now does Eggman Land go into the planet again? I don't know. It's weird. Like, I could have sworn Eggman Land got into the planet right after Sonic put the Chaos Emerald into it at the end of the level. But yeah, Sonic finally turned Supersonic. And all I'm wondering is, why didn't he do this a lot earlier? Why didn't he do this before Gaia regained his true form? And why didn't Dark Gaia do this right from the beginning? And of course you can't skip this tutorial at all. At least you can still move and do stuff while the tutorial's going on. But yeah, at first glance, this Supersonic section seems to be a lot better than any of the 3D Supersonic sections so far. I mean, it's better than Final Hazard because, well, you can actually move around with the control stick. Funny concept, I know. You move up by going up, and down by going down. And it's not in a 3D area, which is why the controls were awkward in the first place. You can actually go straight into the boss instead of always going slightly up or slightly down while going forwards. The biggest problem with this boss, though, is that it's completely random and arbitrary when the Y button prompt will show up. Like, people have told me that you have to be right in front of the open eye in order to be able to dash into it. But there's two problems with that. One, there's so many times where I know that I've been positioned right in front of the eye, and I still didn't get the Y button prompt to show up. So I have no idea what causes the button prompt to show up to allow me to dash into the boss in the first place. And second, you're gonna constantly get hit because instead of trying to collect a bunch of rings, you're spending the entire time trying to position yourself in the right way to be allowed to dash in the first place. You don't lose rings progressively as time goes on. Instead, you only lose rings when you get hit, which I like. It's a novel concept. And this means that you can get up to 99 rings, which is really weird because there's a 3-digit counter there, but the absolute maximum amount of rings you can get is 99. But yeah, it's easy to figure out that you can scroll the screen horizontally because there's a whole bunch of trails of rings leading to the left and to the right. So you're going to go to left and right to collect all those rings, and that's going to naturally lead to the screen scrolling left and right. The problem is that there are not any trails of rings leading upwards, so you have no way of figuring out, well, aside from my guess here, but the screen scrolled up too little for me to really get the idea that I even could scroll to begin with. Maybe I was just so focused on the fight that I couldn't really get the idea. But it's just so unintuitive that you even can scroll up vertically in the first place. And it's that one fact that caused me to end up rage quitting the boss after dying to it a whole bunch, because I had no idea how I was supposed to dash into it the final time. It turns out that you have to just keep on going up, and that's the only way that you can dash into the eye. Never mind the fact that you're very clearly positioned right in front of it. So there's no reason I should be able to dash into the open eyes right now. Why do I arbitrarily have to... Why do I have to go up higher? I mean, it's not very intuitive. You have to dodge all these asteroids, because if you run into them, then you'll be sent all the way back to where you were before, like you got hit by a laser in Final Hazard. So, it's really confusing because in Sonic Rush, you had to dash into the red asteroids to get rings. But this time around, this happens every time that you get hit by an asteroid. And getting the Y button prompt to show up is difficult enough as it is. Thankfully, I've noticed that my experience, usually you can get the button prompt to show up almost right away after you use it. So it's not that big of a deal. I don't know why they only play the instrumental version of the theme here. In the HD version, they play the vocal version of the game's main song, which is how it should be. So that's weird. Like, in the Wii version, you only hear it in the credits. And it sounds really good in the credits. Like, it plays perfectly in theme with the feeling that's established with the fact that Sonic is running along the ground and stuff. But still. In order to dodge the attack where he summons a huge amount of lasers all at once, you have to go in the exact center of the screen. And go a little to the left of where you think you should be, just in case. There's always a light warning swipe right before he actually swipes with his claw, so it's obvious where you're supposed to go to dodge the attacks. It's only these attacks that I have a hard time dodging. It's so misleading that it says attack now because you have a bunch of rings, but you still can't attack even though it says attack now. That's so frustrating. But yeah, it really did take me over a year to go back to this boss fight. Like, my original plan was to use borrowed footage to complete this LP, but I figured that I might as well at least give it a shot and try to beat this boss on my own. But the sheer fact that it took me over 27.5 minutes to beat it just proves how obtuse it is. I had to look up several different guides, and even then, they still didn't tell me that you have to go further up, and only then can a targeting reticule appear. If anything, the guides told me that you shouldn't go too far up, or the reticule won't appear at all. And I don't know why I only got an E... Like, I don't think E ranks exist in the Wii version. Because, like, I took such a long time, and I only got a C rank. So that's really weird. And it doesn't even play the hilarious Out of Tune victory theme, even though the C rank is apparently the lowest rank you can get. But yeah, Super Sonic finally beats Dark Gaia, the most boring and bland and forgettable villain in all of Sonic. And I had to put all the final cutscenes in the credits in the next part because the video was running on for too long.